Our top story today, a plague of black people being shot and killed right here on American soil. We turn now to Brunswick, Georgia. That's the town where Ahmaud Arbery was shot and killed in broad daylight while jogging. Travis and Gregory McMichael, father and son, convicted and sentenced to life in prison for his murder. Well, they entered a plea deal on those federal hate crime charges. We don't know the details of that agreement just yet, but it's reported that the Arbery family is said to be devastated by the deal, and they vow to oppose it. Now, as we look across the nation, unfortunately, they're not the only black family seeking justice. We've seen the same story, just with different names and faces. So we're bringing in a gentleman to help us unpack this. Harold Thomas. He's a retired NYPD detective. Detective Thomas, thank you for your time, sir. We appreciate it. As I mentioned earlier, time and time again, we've seen white police officers and vigilantes shoot first when encountering black and brown people. Why are we seeing this type of behavior still?
I blame it on the training, and mostly it's the mentality of the officer. When I first came into the New York City Police Department, I realized that a lot of my white counterparts, they were afraid of African Americans because uh, they portrayed them as savages. That's some of the language they would use: savages, animals. They didn't grow up around black people. They just heard stories. They watched the news, and a lot of them were really afraid of black people.
Detective Thomas, you said you also blame it on training. So what were you being taught in the academy?
Uh, we were taught the basics: law, social science, police science.
But what about when you
We were
interact
taught.
with someone that doesn't look like you? What type of training did that consist of? Was there like implicit bias
Um,
training?
yeah, over the years, I was with the New York City Police Department for 30 years, from 1984 to 2014. Uh, we had a lot of training, bias training and whatnot. But basically, all you had to do was show up and sign the command log and sign in. You would see a lot of people in the training weren't even paying attention. Some would fall asleep. They would, you have to really want to learn this
So,
training.
so a mandatory training
Yeah.
where officers didn't have to stay awake. Am I hearing? Am I
Yes.
grasping that right?
Yeah. I mean, I would say you need mandatory training, and you have to make sure that the officers are really participating in that training and that they're really into the training, and they're not just going for just an attendance, just so they could say, put in their folder that they had this training for the year. That's what a lot of it is. You have to have certain uh, training courses every year, and basically they would just go just to say that, all right, I had this training, I had that training, and they some officers would even make jokes about the training. Even the instructors would joke about it.
What kind of
You
jokes did
know,
you hear?
yeah, I would hear, sometimes they, had a little racial tone, or we watch a film and they're, you know, joking about the person in the film, or we'd even watch film of actual police incidents, and sometimes guys would even joke about that, or say what they would have did, what they should have did, you know. Um,
Sir, before I want to
it's
ask you one
just
last
they didn't have.
question because we are running out of
Mhm.
time. The Louisville police officer who shot several times into Breonna Taylor's apartment, right? Standing trial for
Yes.
endangering her neighbor, but not Breonna's death. Based on what you just told me about
Yeah.
training and not taking it serious, are you
Mhm.
surprised?
Um, no, but it's ridiculous. How could you be indicted for endangering a neighbor when you killed the occupant of the apartment? You know, um, it's just it's just how police departments are in general. They circle the wagons. They, you know, any type of incident, immediately they're going to be looking at how we can cover for our officers, how they can, you know, we can make sure they don't get jammed up, and you know, what scenario, what story could we go with, you know. But when I was a rookie, I was trained by some I would say 60s and 70s cops. And the one thing they taught me that stuck out in my mind was like, hey kid, you got to articulate, you know. When something goes down, you don't say anything until a senior guy gets here and you tell him the story, and then he's going to tell you the story. He's going to tell you, once you tell him what happened, he's going to tell you how to say that story, you
Mm.
know. And you know, that's just the way we were trained, you know, circle the wagons, and you have to articulate. But it's
Detective Thomas, I'm
the
sorry,
guys are going by.
I gotta get out of this interview, but I want to ask you one last question before I go. Do you believe qualified immunity should end for police officers?
In some circumstances, yes.
Okay. All right. Some
Yes.
circumstances, like what? Briefly.
When it's obvious that the officer has, you know, done something wrong. Like I said, back when I was a rookie, we were told to articulate, and guys are still going by the same, you know, the same code, articulate. But what's hampering their stories is this video now. When I first became a cop, there was no video, there was no cameras. But now you can't walk down a city block without getting caught on 5, 10, 15, 20 cameras. So it's kind of hard to articulate your story when the video is telling a whole nother story,
Well,
you
here's
know.
another A to
But
that.
you put on,
It's accountability now.
yes.
Can't just talk your way out.
Right, exactly. But they'll go as far as to tell you what you saw with your own eyes is not really what happened, you know. So, you know, it's just no limits that it's not all, you know, and I'm saying a small percentage, but it's no limits to what the officers that are doing wrong will go to get out of being held accountable for their actions.
All right, Detective Thomas, it sounds like you are happy to be in retirement these days, sir.
Yeah, well, I've been happily retired for 8 years. I probably would still be with the department, but I got injured, so
Oh, I'm
I
sorry to
had
hear that.
yes,
Yeah. All right,
yeah.
Detective
Else I
Thomas,
probably still be here.
uh, would you still be
Yes,
openly talking about police if you were still on the force, sir, the way you are now?
yes, I did. I did when I was there, and I did after I left. One thing I never held back. I didn't bite my tongue. You know, I've had an incident while I was still on the force where I wind up suing um, my own department and the city, and I was paid. So yeah, this is nothing new. Anybody
Okay.
that knows me knows I always spoke up.
All right, Detective Thomas, thank you for joining us, sir. We really appreciate your time.